I'm still trying to figure out how to not mirror image everything, but I don't know why. I don't know why things are I don't know why things are the way they are. No, it's still flipped. I don't know if you guys saw what just happened, but basically I turned my world upside down to try to fix it. But it's not fixing. So we are still saying free Palestine, but it's backwards, which honestly sadly checks out with how the world is progressing. Good morning. My mood is not great. I think this is a smart way to go about it, is to start every live telling you what my emotional state is and maybe like rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being really great and 1 being like shit. Just so that everyone who's not in the mind space to deal with shitty vibes can skedaddle. I would place myself today at like a 5.75, so not great, but not so awash in grief that I can't function. I was about to eat some lunch. I was gonna cook. I lost complete interest in cooking. I like checked in with myself and I was like, "Do you want to cook?" And I was like, "No, not really. But there's like food in the fridge and I should probably, do something with it and it would be nice to give people a cooking stream." And then I was like, "You feel like shit. Why are you doing this to yourself if you don't want to?" So what we're gonna do is we're gonna eat some Greek yogurt. It's still the $2.99 sale yogurt that was sell by December 30th. I got rid of the date, I guess. It went with the foil, but just trust me, that yogurt is sell by a month ago. We're still eating it. Aaron brought me back some cookies from his work trip to Athens, and so we just crumbled some Greek chocolate sandwich cookies that looked like Fig Newtons and a cat hair in some Greek yogurt, and this is where we're gonna eat until I feel like I want to eat other things, which I don't know if I do. Memo was doing really well. His fur was really, really soft and feathery for about 3 days, and then he hasn't been eating for the last 2.5. He hasn't pooped for 2 days. I actually just got another shipment of Chewy because somebody recommended that I get like a oncology care cat food by Hills, so I got it. It was really expensive, and he's not touching it. But if anybody's curious, this is Unk Care for oncology. This is for cancer pets, I guess. Cancer cats. I don't know if he has cancer, but he's certainly not doing well. But look, he's so pretty. And that is the little bowl right there on his little floral pattern of this really expensive food that he doesn't seem to want to eat, which is, I had to try it, I was like, if this is going to be the food that he's going to eat, then I should try it, but he's not eating it. So the boy's not doing well again, and I'm just trying to not get completely devastated, but I think I will. So I've also not been feeling well health-wise. I don't think I got sick, but I've been sneezing and there was a little bit of a sore throat. I used one of my expired COVID tests, which told me it wasn't COVID, and I don't have a fever, but I feel like shit, and I don't have any energy to do normal people things. So that's where we're at, and I have a lot of open cans of fish that Memo kind of took a few bites of that I will eat sooner or later, but right now I kind of just wanted to sit here and eat my yogurt and cookies, and I don't know. I think going live today was my coping mechanism of sorts because I'm not well enough to do much in terms of activity, and I have no interest in doing anything else. I don't even have interest to cook, which is really sad, actually. It happens very rarely, but when it happens, here's where we are. So that's it. Happy February. It is a new year according to the lunar calendar. It's the year of the snake. I'm a snake, so it's technically my year. It's really weird to be going into my snake year and feeling like I could experience a rebirth of sorts now that, you know, grandma's gone. I've always kind of almost fantasized about the moment that grandma would not be in my charge anymore, as like, then you would be free to go live your life and do what you want to do. But the reality is, I'm really fucking weak right now, and I don't want to do anything. So I guess I didn't, factor in, like, accumulative grief and its impact on life direction and content. So here we are. I tried to make some natto this week. I don't think we were successful, but it was a first attempt, so it would have been miraculous if it were successful. But, you know, it looks too regular, but there's definitely mucus, but it looks too not natto-y. So I don't think the fermentation went right. But, I'll try it. I'll eat it. Maybe with my sauerkraut. I bought some sauerkraut. That could be good. Okay. Yeah, man. Guys, this is sad. It almost feels like I could be doing more for him, but I can't. And I guess... I mean, it's the same with humans, right? You always feel like you could do more for them. So I'm just gonna take a sip, and we're gonna eat our cookies and cream. And I'll let you guys chat. And, ooh, here we are. Something very cathartic about being unalive. I haven't really cried for so many days. But I just realized sitting in front of a, albeit invisible audience, I guess I'm realizing that I'm doing a pretty inadequate job at not feeling sorry for myself. Hello Germany and Kazakhstan and hi Gary, bye Gary. Have a great lunch with friends. Hi Texas. He never ate the roast chicken. I bought a whole half roast chicken and he ended up eating none of it. He didn't even want it. He had like 3 good days. I think towards the last 2 pills of the antibiotics and the days immediately following that one, he was doing good. And then I think in the last 2 to 3 days, he started not eating again. And Aaron came by yesterday and he hid under the sofa. And he didn't come out until over an hour after Aaron left. And my dad's actually going to visit me tomorrow, so unfortunately I don't think I would be able to host my dad in my apartment because Memo's just so sick. So I'm probably just going to meet my dad outside. But yeah, I really wish he could feel better. Memo is still using the litter box. He's been a very good boy. But he's just not eating. And I've been opening cans left and right for him, and he'll lick it, and then he's not really intaking substance. I gave him churu tubes, and he was taking really well to it. I was giving him 3 tubes a day, and he stopped 2 to 3 days ago. I even got new flavors for him. I have like 8 flavors of tube treats right now. I'm trying everything. Literally anytime anyone says, hey, I tried this food and it's great, and if it's like retailed in the US, I think I've tried it. I've spent so much money trying to get this cat to eat. But I think at a certain point I just need to like stop burning myself out. So, yes, water is a great idea. I should drink some water. I tried tuna water. I tried. He'll lick a little bit. He used to eat more when I gave him human grade tuna. But now he's not even, like the sardine liquid that he seems to really love on one of the previous streams, didn't even touch it this time. I bought myself a lot of premium sardines just for that juice, and he didn't touch it. So it looks like he's gotten even pickier than his last illness. He's still on the bed, though, as you've seen, so at least he's not like isolating in the corner of the room. And he's not yet hiding from me yet, but he didn't seem to like or want my pets this morning. So I just know that something's going on inside that little body of his, and it's just really sad. I don't know how else to put it. Like, my physical health is a mess. Memo's not doing well. My mental health is just like holding on for dear life at this point. So I've made him broth. He doesn't touch it. Like chicken feet broth. Delicious for me. He didn't want any of it. So, you know, I've tried everything. Everything short of putting him on like a feeding tube. I don't want to drag him to the vet back and forth. One, I don't really think it's going to do him much good to scare him at this point, to attempt more treatment, and two, honestly, I can't like keep bleeding out money like this. I would rather just let him live out his days as comfortably as he can, and then I can save up the funds and adopt another cat, and give another cat a nice place to live and all these treats. He might not be dying, I don't know. He like pulled through last time, but that's kind of the pattern that I witnessed with Grandma too. So it's like, I think caring for Memo at this time is so like bumper car with my experience with Grandma. It's just like bumper to bumper experiencing illness and death. From what I witnessed with Grandma, she also had, you know, a lot of bad dips, and she always pulled through. So I think when she finally passed away, I wasn't even like thinking it was gonna happen, because my brain was just like, oh, she's gonna pull through. That's what grandma does. Grandma always pulls through. So with Memo, it's like, yeah, he may be better for a couple of days, but there's still illness underlying all of these symptoms. So I'm just kind of like trying to be optimistic and hopeful, but also realistic, and knowing that there's something wrong with him that is probably killing him. So balance is hard, is what I'm learning. I think a lot of people aren't ready to witness or absorb tears and sadness and moments of distress, and I totally get it, which is why I gave you guys a 5.5 out of 10 rating up front. But sometimes it just sucks, because you're doing your best to try to be hopeful, but how much of hope is a buoy for you to stay afloat, and how much hope is a blinding delusion that will cause you to be ambushed by the less ideal conclusion. That balance is hard to strike. So I'm finding out that like maintaining homeostasis and maintaining equilibrium is not like a constant stability, right? It's kind of like the stock market. Yeah, over time, the stock market seems to go up and up. So they say if you invest in the stock market long term, it's a good investment, because even though you have crashes and dips, it goes up over time. But for the people who can't survive until that point in time and suffers deeply at this crash of the market, which there are a lot of people who suffer, so life is an endurance sport, and I'm feeling pretty weak right now. Yeah, I got supplemental drops. He won't touch it. So, I have all this expensive stuff that I'm supposed to be giving to him, but I can't force it into him. And if I force it into him for his own good, it is a trade-off, because I could get scratched and bitten again, which I still have scars from August when he bit me. It would stress him out, and it would deteriorate what remains of our trust. And so I can force him to take medication and supplements for his own good, but is it for his own good? At what point do you make that call? At what point is it going to make him feel so threatened and insecure in this place that I keep chasing after him to give him medication that's good for him, that he fears living in this house with me and just wants to get away from the source of threat, which is me, even though I mean well, You named a rat Tuna. Tuna's a good name for a rat, too. Yep, so cookies and yogurt is what we're eating. I don't know, guys. Maybe share some good news or bad news. Just share whatever you feel good about sharing, and I'm just gonna chill out and zone into my yogurt mash. I keep thinking about making a lasagna, because I have cooked kale, I have tomato sauce, I have TVP, which can turn into a ground meat substitute, and I have like this tub of farmer's cheese that could double as ricotta, and I have lasagna noodles in the pantry. That's what I was hoping to make. I've been thinking about making that janky lasagna all week long, but my body's just not feeling it right now. And trying to train myself to get out of the habit of forcing myself to do things I don't really want to do. It's hard though. It's hard to know the balance of letting yourself rest and letting yourself go. So the theme of 2025 is struggling to find balance, which I think is a lifelong theme, honestly. Ooh, Pennsylvania. Which city in Pennsylvania? Someone just recommended that I move to Philly. I was like, well, I'll be closer to my dad. But I don't know. Does anyone live in Philly? You want to tell me your thoughts about living in Philly? Ribs in the smoker. Yeah, sometimes it just takes more time. I actually think what went wrong with my natto was I was probably impatient and I kept peaking. And I probably should have let it go longer than the 24 hours. But you know, we live and we learn. Next time we'll try something different. Your turkey is gobbling. Wow. 38 rats. You are a rat queen. I don't think I need to drive in Philly, but honestly, probably would benefit me if I didn't live right in city center to be able to drive, but I'm not going to drive, so. Ooh, King of Prussia. That's fun. I remember when I went to college, everybody would go to King of Prussia for fun. I don't think I ever went. There's a lot of screaming children. The worst time of day is around 4 to 5 p.m. There's like a group of kids that congregate right outside the building and just run up and down the metal ramp, the accessibility ramp, screaming. So that usually is my least favorite hour. Ties with the leaf blower that happens at 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. The leaf blower is awful. I can't make juk. I don't have rice. I was actually thinking about buying rice in the weeks leading up to Grandma's death. I was thinking about making her congee. And retrospectively, I think my gut knew she needed congee probably. Probably because nothing else was getting digested. So, you know, just lots of little regret moments popping in. I think it's natural, and I think it's not really all that pleasant to experience, but with every dying and dead person or entity in my life, I'm learning more about how to control the volume of the flooding that happens, the emotional flooding that happens, the psychological flooding that happens when somebody just doesn't exist anymore. Nothing triggering anxiety attack at the moment is great. Congratulations. I highly recommend crumbling cookies into yogurt, by the way. Really delicious. Try it with any cookie. It tastes better texturally for me if it's full-fat Greek yogurt, because it's just like really thick and ice creamy almost. But it's like a cookie parfait. It's quite delightful. I did not celebrate Chinese New Year's. Um, it's a really hard holiday to celebrate on your own. I feel like what defines Lunar New Year celebrations is like gatherings. Um, so it's kind of like celebrating Thanksgiving or Christmas on your own. It's kind of weird. um, yeah, I keep in touch with some of my former coworkers. Um, actually, one of them just sent me homemade peanut butter cookies, and in addition to the cookies, he also wrote me a lovely recipe for the cookies and like a really long letter. So it's very, very heartwarming to receive. And he also found this egg, this like marble egg. There we go. And he said he sent it to me because it reminded him of the fossilized egg I had found in Grandma's room after she passed away. So he said it might make me smile. He thought I had kept the egg, and I was like, no, I actually kind of regretted throwing out the egg. But in the moment, they gave me like, you know, they told me to take as much time as I needed to go through the room, but they needed the room because all these facilities have a wait list. So I was kind of just in like a fight and flight mode where I was like, trash, keep, and then most of the things I ended up forcing myself to trash because I just knew that my house was going to be a disaster if I kept everything. So here's our bed in the living room because Memo, when he got sick, he started living in that corner of the room right underneath the flag and by the radiator. And it was 3 days of him sleeping in the corner alone, away from me like that, before I was like, I gotta keep him company. I gotta keep an eye on him. I don't know what's going on. So I slept on the yoga mat for one night, and then I decided the yoga mat was way too harsh on my body, and I can't fall apart without proper sleep. So the next night I decided that I was just gonna move my mattress from the bedroom into the living room, and we have been sleeping there for 2 weeks in the living room, and he seems to be okay with it. He was enjoying it more, I think, when he wasn't feeling this bad, but I think today he's not feeling well. So it is interesting. I do feel like my health is like very tied to, it was tied to Grandma's health starting last summer when she got really, really sick with a lung infection. That's also when I got mono, and I think I've just been feeling really, really awful half a year now. And now Memo, I think, I don't know, it's like the chicken or the egg. Am I influencing his health and wealth, or is he influencing my health and wealth? Well, he's certainly influencing my wealth and health, that's for sure. The amount of money I've spent on this cat's diet is absurd, but I can hang things on the walls, but I'm terrified of drilling holes, so I just don't. So any of the posters that you see on the wall are taped. I tape the corner of the poster if it's paper and basically enforce it with Scotch tape, and then I tape on the reinforced edges so that when I peel it from the wall, it won't rip the poster itself. But yeah, I don't really hang things. I don't really drill things. I had to ask Ram to help me install these curtain rods when I moved in because I was so terrified of drilling. So big thanks to Ram for me even having curtains. Otherwise, all my neighbors would just see all my crazy all the time. I don't even know what that condition is. Chiari malformation. Wow, it sounds intense. It affects your cerebellum and the brain. Woof. Human bodies are weird, y'all. I'm finding out lately more and more that the premise and idea of being a healthy individual has been like one of the biggest lies, right next to what romantic love is. So I think the fantasy of health and the fantasy of love have slowly been deconstructing for me over the last 4 years, for sure. So big thanks to COVID and corporate interest and the, weapons industry and the military complex and Hinge. Big thanks to Hinge for exposing me to all these experiences so that I can learn about how deep all the lies we've been brought up on go. They go so deep, y'all. And so to uproot any or all of these lies from deep, deep within us is like a very painful process. And I can see why people don't want to confront it and don't want to pretend that there's like a freaking needle in their eyeball, because they've gotten so used to growing with this thorn. And I'm not saying you have to acknowledge any of these. Clearly, a lot of people feel fine not acknowledging it. And I think what happens is we just get used to blaming other people and institutions and circumstances for all the pain that we go through. But I think if you choose to allow the pain of extracting the deconstruction of these ideals to actually affect you, you'll understand why it hurts to stay alive so much. And so you kind of lose the desire or the compulsion to blame other people in a lot of ways. There's no one to blame for my mom dying, and there's no one to blame for grandma dying alone. I can definitely pinpoint points of responsibility that were, not as strong as maybe they could have been, but at the end of the day, there's no one to blame for how Memo was sick. I think I've done my due diligence of taking him to the vet and running tests and trying different foods, and at the end of the day, you will exhaust all your available options, and you can either choose to rest and just let it be, or you can keep pushing against it until you're totally, totally out of gas and your engine breaks down. Which I think is the road that my mom chose. She just kept pushing herself, and then she ran out of gas. Grandma was more of the opposite, where there was always someone to blame. Someone's stealing that, or someone's abusing that, or someone's not giving her that. And there's always a culprit for all the pain and dissatisfaction. And so I guess I'm just here in the lineage of finding balance. I don't think I'll succeed, but at least I'm more open to trying. All the fun stuff stuck on my fridge. Yeah, we can. I feel like we've done it before, but maybe it's time to do it again. I can't really gauge how much time has passed. I've been in this new apartment for 2 years and almost 3 months now. It both feels longer than that and shorter than that on some days. I think we all miss who we used to be, right? Like, I miss the old me, but I also don't miss the old me, because the old me had a lot of issues that I have new issues now, but not those old issues, you know? So, we can miss our past selves and appreciate them, but also appreciate our current selves as well. There's just no... I think I went through a couple of years of, like, really missing my past selves. And then I realized the more time you spend missing the past, the less time you get to live in the present. And so you'll just keep missing the past as if it's already like a sunken cost fallacy move. Why stop now? Let's just keep missing the past. And we can keep putting the past on a pedestal and worship it and hold it as the golden standard to which we would hope to always return to. But that's a game that you set up for yourself to lose. You can only lose if you miss the past, because the past is gone. That's it. So you can appreciate the past, and you can feel all your feelings, but appreciating the past should not be exclusive of appreciating the present. And it's really fucking hard to appreciate the present right now. You know, I feel like shit. So... it's a challenge. The old me was so reactive. I'm still reactive now. Like, that's a part of me. That's also something to realize too, is like you can miss the old self, but you're not missing the old self. You're missing very specific traits. Missing yourself is like missing a past lover. It's not that you miss everything about that person. It's that you miss the good times or the good things that you liked about that person. It becomes a fairy tale. And I learned this most clearly when my mom passed away. And I was like, hold up. I was like, why do I love and appreciate my mom so much more now that she's gone? And it's because I get to create the fantasy of who my mom was. I get to isolate and finally appreciate in the petri dish of my mind, my selective mind, all the good things that I remember of mom. There is no living mom for me to argue with anymore. We don't butt heads anymore. She's not here anymore. So she can become my fantasy mom. So I'm falling in love with my fantasy. And I think in a lot of ways, when you fall in love with a person, especially when you don't know them, and it takes a long time to know someone, you are often falling in love with the fantasy of who that person is. And I think when you miss yourself, your past self, that's also missing a fantasy of yourself. So yeah, I miss how I was, more sprightly, and how I had more passion for making food, and I was really good at entertaining the people, and I looked younger, and I was more in shape, and I still had a mom. But when I had a mom, I argued with her. And when I was in shape, I was compulsively going to the gym and making myself feel bad when I didn't get to go to the gym. I had a lot of body image issues, and I still do, but I've evolved with myself in such a way that I can recognize those body image issues as issues and not truth. I was good at entertaining the people because that was my job. I was paid to do it. I had to do it. I had to perform. And I loved cooking truly because I did love cooking, and I still do love cooking. And I was incentivized in so many ways to cook and be creative. 1, for the audience. 2, for excelling at my job. 3, we were all quarantined at home with not much to do, so anything that I could do to excite myself within the bounds of a 490 square foot apartment was great. But I was exhausted. I was exhausted making budget eats. I would shoot footage for 8 to 10 hours a day. Then I would do 2 to 4 hours of computer work every day at the end. Then I had to review those video drafts that were like 2 hours long in the beginning, over and over again until I got sick of looking at my own fucking fat face. And then I had mental health issues from looking at myself in the camera and on feedback and on YouTube all day, every day. And I had a boss who wanted to squeeze more out of me and turn me into a TV show. And I had to deal with the reality of being at a job where they were very anti-union and anti-worker and gaslighting us all the time about what we deserved and didn't deserve and how we were behaving and why what we were doing was wrong. And so, pros and cons to everything, right? Do we actually miss the past, or do we just miss the parts of ourselves that we wish we could have kept alongside the lessons that we learned through loss? Some lessons can only be learned and integrated through loss. If I had not experienced losing my mom so untimely, if I had not experienced taking care of my grandmother and all of its horrible moments and beautiful moments and literally shitty moments, I would not be who I am right now. So is the current me worse than before? I think it's less appetizing in a consumption framework. It's not great to look at someone sitting without energy and depressed and crying in the middle of their kitchen not doing anything, you know. But I think a lot of us have gone a little bit loopy for good reason in the past few years. And I'm just simply representing those of us who are doing our best despite all of this. And our best is not going to be pretty sometimes when things are so not pretty all around you. Because I truly believe more and more now that we are a reflection of our environment. So no matter how much you believe in individualism and self-sufficiency and optimism and hope, if what you're surrounded by is contrary to all the brightness you're trying to retain, the laws of physics dictate that through osmosis, you know, salt will flow where there is more water, and eventually the salinity of an environment will balance out, and so it goes with gases too, hot air versus cold air. It's just a existential magic of transformation. So I think the more we fight against transformation, because we don't think we are in control of it, the more friction and pain we add to the baseline that we have to experience anyway. And I think right now we have all this clout and praise for a film like The Substance. on the surface, it's all about, you know, femininity and youth and selling sex and becoming the product and identifying with the product that you've become for other people's consumption. And how that influences how everyone who consumes also hold themselves to that golden ideal of who they should be. But digging even further beyond just the superficie of youth, I think all of us struggle with change in so many aspects of our lives because it's scary. I didn't leave Instagram, but I deleted it off my phone. I'm not one of those people who are like, I quit. You know, like, okay, so what? You quit. Goodbye. Like, if I disappeared off of YouTube and Instagram, like, people are gonna be weirded out and maybe shocked, and maybe like 5 people will be worried for 2 days to 2 weeks, and then, you know, our attention spans don't hold for that long. Like, the genocide in Palestine is still ongoing. We technically have a ceasefire agreement, but now that they're not actively ramming Gaza to smithereens, they've turned the assault on to the West Bank. So, but we don't see that reported anymore. So once it fades out of our attention, it doesn't exist anymore, right? So, like, in the attention economy, if you don't put out stuff, you don't exist, which is why we have this whirlpool, this quicksand that just sucks us into constantly putting out stuff, because if you don't put out stuff, you don't exist. If the tree falls and no one hears it, doesn't make a sound. The eternal question. Can we anticipate loss to appreciate the present state? I think that's what Memo gave me when he was dying and I was researching all the euthanasia at-home vet services. I think I was of the mindset that, like, well, every extra day that I get with him is an extra day, and I'm trying to hold on to that mindset. But it's wild how you can see things very clearly from one angle one day, and then the next day you'll be completely different, right? So the grass is always greener on the other side. Which is why maybe we don't have to chase the green grass, because it's always going to look greener on the other side. But I think even if I were to move, I would technically change my immediate environment, but the world is still the world. I think Palestine has shown a lot of us that no matter what country you're in, they will all suppress your freedom of speech and movement and right to protest if it goes against their common interest, which is only held in place by policing and oppression. So now that I've seen that, I've kind of lost the appetite to feel like the grass is greener on the other side, because all grass is grown from shit. I don't think of my disillusionment as a negative thing, but I think a lot of people, including some of my friends, do, and they worry for me. I actually think that this is great. I think that, like, the amount of detachment I've been able to organically feel from chasing any aspect of success, especially because of witnessing Palestine get attacked, like this, and us everywhere all over the world getting suppressed and oppressed when trying to speak out against what's happening in Palestine. It's shown me a lot. It's shown me a lot of what this world is built on. And so why should I value any of what the institutions we've built have to offer? if what they have to offer is built on the very foundations of extinguishing human rights? We're all actually just factory farmed animals at this point. That's what I feel like right now. Nobody cares about women's health. I have overwhelmingly female friends who always suffer due to their periods. Most of us don't want kids. There's no solutions for the pain that we go through every month. Meanwhile, all the legislation is about what we can't do with our bodies. So I am a unit of production. I'm a baby factory. In the eyes of the state, that is what I'm good for. That is my designated position. In the eyes of corporately sponsored state, I am a production unit of entertainment. I make things so that audiences can consume it. And that is where my value lies. And once I don't agree to do it anymore, by turning down a TV show, I get fired. Because they can't put up with the noise of my protests of why a company shouldn't be anti-union if I'm not even going to give them a TV show. This cog has no value in the machine anymore if it doesn't work the way the machine needs it to. So there's nothing for me to really gain because I don't want what is on offer at the buffet of horrors, which in a way sets me free. However, I recognize it's very unsettling for a lot of people. Because it means that I'm more and more living and believing in a filtered reality that is contradictory to their desired filtered realities. Which is why I think I feel a new kind of loneliness lately. I think witnessing the genocide go down and seeing people's reactions to it has engendered a new sort of alienation. That was very eye-opening and brain-breaking and soul-crushing in a lot of ways. Yeah, Tamara, that's really interesting. Your comment says we would have to be the greenest grass for ourselves, but I will never manage that, I feel. I think if you set the goal of, I gotta be the greenest grass for myself, it's so easy to fail, right? Because you're setting your ideal goal to hit like sky high, like as high as you can go. Because if you're the greenest grass, then you will always be happy being on the greenest grass, right? Which is what, and there's no right or wrong about this, I'm just thinking out loud here. But I think that's why for me, I'm just like, alright, fuck grass. I don't need grass. I'm kind of allergic to grass. If I roll on grass, it makes me wet and itchy and like gives me rashes and like, yeah, it looks pretty. And everybody else wants the greenest grass to look plush and rich and well maintained and, you know, kept. But what if I don't actually like grass? Like, what if I like dirt? What if I like concrete? What if I don't know what I like. Maybe I don't like anything. Do I need grass? Do I need green grass? So, I don't know. Sometimes, I guess you can, there's a very fine line between enlightenment and like schizophrenia sometimes. And I was actually watching Dr. K. He's like a video gamer, philosopher, psychologist YouTuber. I love his videos a lot. He did a 3-hour primer on autism, and like all throughout the primer I was like, that's my life. That's interesting. okay, this is all starting to make sense. But anyway, he was talking, one of his videos was talking about the dangers of meditation. Apparently 20 minutes, even when practiced daily of meditation, seems to be the optimal time of meditation for most people who engage in mindfulness. But apparently if you go like meditate 40 minutes or longer, the more often you do longer meditation, the more like dissociated you might become. And again, these are all using medical terms and like psychology terms that are not culturally attuned to different practices and life paths. So mental illness for one culture might not be mental illness for another, just keeping that in mind. But like meditation can actually make you go crazy. Some people lose the ego and they lose themselves, and they become like fearless in a way that would make them societally rejected. So it's good to keep in mind that vitamins are good for you, but you can also OD on them. And so finding your own balance is ongoing. Sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I'm just like, yeah, you live in this body. It's a really out of shape body right now. 2 years ago, you would have freaked in this state. Right now, you don't have to freak. Right now, you have the choice to just witness being in this body, to observe this body and its changes, and to allow yourself a space of acceptance, even if you're not happy with it. Because so what? So what you're not happy with it? In college, I had an English professor, Professor Weinstein. I guess I'm going to remember this tip for the rest of my life, because I've always struggled with essay writing and staying on track with a thesis, in case you can't tell with my rambles. And he told us that the basic structure and content of an essay is set in place by a clear thesis statement. And so the thesis statement is the what. What are you talking about? What are you introducing? What are you proposing? What are you floating? And it's equally important to have a part B to that thesis, which is the so what. So you have the what, which is the topic. What is Palestine? And then you have the so what. So what? Why should I care about what Palestine is? What is the importance of Palestine? So we can talk about Israeli apartheid. That would be the what. You can say something like, Israeli apartheid is a crime against humanity. And then the so what would be, all right, why is that important? Why should I care about it? Why should I care about the fact that Israel practices apartheid? And why should I care about human rights? Which, it sounds silly when you listen to me talk about it like this, but then you observe and look at how life goes down and the systems we have in place, and clearly we have not explored this thesis in both parts, and we are not allowed to explore this thesis in both parts. And that is really important information, is when you're trying to write a thesis and trying to explain the significance of it, why would anyone shut you down and punish you for talking on it? What is the game being played here? What is the power struggle that is trying to be upheld through oppressing the exploration of these ideas? So, yeah, the what of my life is, I'm really sad. My mental health and physical health are really bad. My cat is dying, probably, and that makes me sad. And the so what is, I don't know why that's important. So if I don't have a so what, then that thesis isn't really anything worth exploring or harassing myself over. The so what is just, it just happens. Life just happens. I got sick again, now my body's struggling. I hate it. I hate being disabled. I hate having a cat who I love who's dying. I don't want him to die. But the so what is just life happens. Life just happens this way. And so I just watch it. I'm gonna go pee. And then I'm gonna read your comments. But you know, I think what I've realized is going live is actually a part of self-care for me. Like there was a part of myself that was like, you don't feel like cooking, but you should still go live, because I can feel like you're drowning in your despair a little bit too much today. And maybe going on live and spilling your guts to a lot of strangers who are very confused about what's going on in your life would be good for you. And I do think it's good to go to therapy. But in case you don't want to go to therapy or you can't access it, you can always spill your guts to a lot of strangers online, which is a gamble. Some people will use that information against you. You just never know. But life is just a string of gambles. All right, going to your comments now. I don't have Blue Sky. I know everybody's moving to Blue Sky, but honestly, my only move right now is to get off of social media, not get on new ones. I'm kind of just, with the amount of AI and fake news and like instant reactivity that we are all so guilty of doing, I think if anything, I just need to like quit the addiction. I'm so addicted. Even when I have Instagram deleted off my phone, I still reach for my phone and I look for the app. That's how I know I'm addicted. Like I knew I deleted the app off, but it's become almost muscle memory addiction to just turn to my phone and like be like, where's Instagram? Click. Sandy Russ says, I literally had that conversation with myself last summer. I don't even like grass. Why am I upset about dandelions that feed the bees? Yeah, I love dandelions, by the way. And every time I sit on grass, I love to like tear at it. I don't know if that's like just something to do with my hands sort of thing, but every time I'm on grass, I just almost always tear at the grass, and then I feel bad. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just built to not love grass. Tamara says, I just lost my partner. Oh boy, I'm sorry to hear that. I just wish I would be able to feel more meaning with myself rather than to think, will I ever find someone again who will fit into the gap that I feel next to me? I feel that. I feel that. And I think I received a couple of comments when I was like on Hinge dates and in Hinge situationships that were not good for me. I remember receiving a couple of comments from people that are like, why are you so, hungry for a relationship? Like, and at the time I was in denial. At the time I was like, I'm not. I'm just having fun. But like clearly that shit damaged me, Nothing, no fun is free. Like all fun has some sort of a cost. And I also think that I was trying to fill a gap. I think there was just so much foundation and routine that disappeared within 18 months. So I think when I got fired, I was like, all right, let's have fun. Let's go try dating. And it was fun for a while until I realized that like I really wanted someone who would be committed and stable enough. And I learned in 2 years of dating on these apps that like commitment and the willingness to engage in conflict resolution and to be honest not only with your partner but first and foremost with yourself is a dying practice, guys. And I think it's because of all of this like dopamine driven culture and access that we have to constant newness, which by the way is so not new. None of this is new. They just feel new. It's an addiction. And so at first I was like, oh, these men are garbage, And then I realized like, no, like this is just who we've become because of our environment. Everything is disposable. From plastic utensils and packaging to electronics. Even when we learn that, the chips that they need to put in these electronics cause war and genocide, people are still upgrading their phone every year and buying clothes and throwing out clothes and just constant consumption. And so inevitably when our lifestyle is revolving around consumption and being able to consume and being proud of our ability to spend, that people become disposable to us too. And I think it was silly of me to like feel like I could just find the one or a one who would be able to commit to me. I'm not saying that that's a dead dream. I'm just saying it's a hard dream to fulfill right now, given our environment. Like if I took a realistic look at my environment and saw how people reacted to Palestine and how motivated they were to do anything about it or even speak out against it, how fearful they were about the repercussions of doing the right thing, how ignorant people willed themselves to be. I think it was a choice to remain ignorant when so much information was flowing through and accessible to us. How they live their lives, from what they spend their money on to how frequently they spend their money on those things to how they treat the things they acquire with their money, explains a lot of someone's attitude and life philosophy. And it wasn't until nearing the end of 2 years of dating absolute strangers in New York City that I realized I had been trusting of people's words more than I had been observant of their actions. And it sounds like I was an idiot, and I was, for learning at the age of like 35 that I need to observe people more than I listen to them. But that's a lesson that it took me 2 years of flopping like a dying fish in the drying dating pool to realize that I had been paying attention to the wrong clues and missed all the most valuable, truthful cues in favor of verbalized fantasy that are so much easier and so much less costly to deliver. So, that is what I traded my mental health for, is to learn that lesson. So now, if mental health is a renewable resource, and I hope to God it is, because I cannot stay here for the rest of my life. I just need some time to recuperate my losses. And like, it's kind of like spending too much money on a bender, and you're like, well, I'm broke now, so if I don't want to go into debt and drag everyone in my life down with me, I need to take a break and spend as little as possible and reserve my energy and recover. So that's what I'm doing. I learned too much in the last 4 years. And right now I need to sit down with the indigestion of my soul to like nurture it back to a sustainable place. Right now I'm not sustaining myself very well. And that's why I can't really make content right now, because like I would have to like fake it to even get to the point to act like I wanted to make a video. I don't want to make an edited video. I don't even see the point in like doing so much of life right now, you know, so. Yeah, today I was actually going to do a live with 5 things from my fridge. You exactly nailed that concept. And then my body was like, you feel like shit, don't do this. And I was like, I feel like shit, I shouldn't do this. Which is why you're listening to me ramble for an hour. Faith by Sharon Salzberg. Cool. I've been taking your book recommendations. One of the books that someone mentioned, or someone, I saw it somewhere, is out of print. And it's coming back to print later this year. But I did not know that like books could go out of print like that and then come back into print. Faith, Trusting Your Own Deepest Experience. It's a paperback from September 2003 by Sharon Salzberg. Best-selling author of Loving Kindness. Okay. A meditation teacher. Thanks for that, Rec. Well, Shad, if I liked live music with a bunch of strangers and my eardrums being blasted out, I would go, but I don't like any of that. It's like very overstimulating for me to go see live music and be around a lot of people that I don't want to be around. And also now we still have not just COVID, but like COVID wrecked immune systems, which makes us much more susceptible to catching anything and everything. Which I think is why we might all be seeing people around us get sick faster and more often than ever before. So, I'm not saying this to bring us down, but I am just saying that there is a cost to everything, and instead of blaming people for COVID happening and the fallout from COVID that is still happening and unraveling a lot of us, especially those most, under-equipped, underfunded, under-resourced folks, maybe what we're seeing is, you can call it karma if you want, I just call it the cost of living the way we have been living. It would be certainly comforting to know that karma would hit the people who deserve the ramifications of their actions most. Unfortunately, I think it is still a group activity, and a lot of us who don't really seem to deserve the ramifications get dealt it more than the people who do actually. But yeah, maybe COVID, maybe all this environmental destruction, maybe this is all just the price that we're paying right now for the reckless sort of lifestyle we've been leading. So I don't really blame anyone anymore. I honestly don't even blame Zionists anymore. I know that sounds like shocking to hear. I just don't see the point in blaming them anymore. They clearly don't see the world the way I see the world. So there is no fighting people when they don't see the same world that you see, because they're not living in the same reality that you're living in. And so even though it seems like you're sharing the same space and saying the same language, you're not. I learned this firsthand in dating too. We would say things like, I value honesty, and yeah, let's be transparent with each other about how we feel. And we would use those words, honesty and transparency, and two of us would mean very different things based on our behaviors and actions. So if I can't trust you at your word, then I have to see what your actions are. And I think we have seen enough of action from Zionists to know that they are very, 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 very differently built and structured and formulated. And I'm not even just talking about, war and genocide and murder and torture that's happening in Palestine right now. I'm talking about how when I was walking with friends and we decided to tear down a poster that was like, return the hostages, bring them home. Aaron had ripped it, and like thankfully, I don't know how, he didn't get cut up, but that poster had 4 razor blades taped to the back. It was a printer paper poster with 4 razor blades kind of booby-trapped and hidden on the 4 corners. So Aaron could have very easily cut up his hand tearing off the poster. That's what I mean by they're just not built the same way that I'm built. Because I've done wheat pasting, I've done postering for, Palestine solidarity. We would not ever tape razors to the back to punish you for taking off our posters. We would just go back and repaste the posters after you tore them down. And we have done that. We would go back to the same sites and we would reposter again. I don't do it anymore because I don't see the point in doing it. That was also part of my learning curve. I had to do it to experience it, to understand the cause and effect and, what it does. But seeing that poster with the 4 razor blades taped on the back was horrifying. And it was like truly a blessing from whatever divinity there exists that Aaron did get hurt. But mind-boggling. Like, he turned it back and he was like, oh shit, there's razors. Like the kind of razors that I use to slice bread up with. Like, I have these razors. These like double-edged blades. That's a lot of money too. For every poster you're putting up, you're putting 4 razors on it. That's some expensive budget. Why did he tear it down? Because it was pro-Israel hostages. The same hostages that Israel was bombing by attacking Palestinians. Because clearly Israel doesn't care about anyone. Israel, as a state, as a genocidal state, as an imperial state, seems to have no qualms killing anyone on either side, no matter how you identify. They need to kill you. They arrest their own citizens. They arrest their own teachers, Israeli, white-looking teachers, for speaking out against what the state of Israel is doing in Palestine. So even if you're a good Israeli who care about human rights and not committing genocide, you will be punished. Because Israel as a state, its bottom line is not human rights. Its bottom line is not quality of life. Its bottom line, like America's bottom line, is domination. And it wants to appear to be the good guy because that's the PR front you have to put up in order to advertise yourself as a sustainable presence. But I think, again, this is where listening to their words and paying attention to their actions will show you two very different realities. So it was very weird that through dating, my experiences in dating helped inform my understanding of the world at large, including both professional work dynamics and political warfare. Because human relations, at the end of the day, is human relations. So I got to see human dynamics on a very microscopic level, intimately, through relationships. And I got to see, and I don't think I met like the worst of people, thank God. But I definitely met some people who did not care about my feelings. And had no qualms about, using me in a way that I was okay with because I liked them and loved them, but I don't think they liked and loved me based on their actions. So I've done a lot of learning in the last 4 years. I'm not done learning yet, but I think at this point I have to like pause because I don't think I can learn anymore successfully without breaking, and I think I'm already kind of past breaking. Half of the lessons that I've learned I signed up for myself, ignorantly, without thinking about the ramifications and the costs of what these lessons would be. And half of the lessons were dealt to me, my mom dying and taking on grandma's care, and that was just kind of just landed in my lap. It first landed on my head and gave me a concussion, metaphorically speaking. And then it landed in my lap, and I was like, well, guess I gotta handle this now. So, yeah, I'm hoping I can rebound. I'm hoping Memo can hold steady. But I'm also realistic enough to know that he's 14. And despite looking like a cute-ass kitten, he isn't. And, we just gotta be realistic about what we get to have and what we don't get to have sometimes. What's everyone been eating? Has anyone been dealing with a loss of desire or appetite? And have you found any foods that make you more excited to eat? Because right now it's just yogurt and cookies for me, but I'm hoping maybe someone has better ideas for nutrition. Maybe we can share some tips. So these are two of Aaron's cookies. This one is a must, a raisin must. Must is like a grape that they use for wine. It's kind of like whole wheaty and shortbready, and it's moist. Moister than the shortbread, but still crumbly like one. It's kind of like a cakey digestive, if you want to put it that way. So thanks to Aaron for bringing me treats all the way from Athens. I'm gonna put a little extra cinnamon on top. Black bean soup and rice. Maybe I can turn my failed natto into like a slimy soup. But that might kill whatever good bacteria manage to proliferate. Apparently natto is one of the few foods that have vitamin K, naturally occurring vitamin K. And I read the study that natto might be good for long COVID haulers. Again, all of this is just experimental. Literally nobody has a cure for long COVID because all the symptoms are so wildly different between individuals. So one of my hobbies now is just to like Google Reddit threads of long COVID advice and seeing what other people are doing and like just experimenting on myself and seeing what works. It does seem like exercise does no good, because I finally felt energetic enough and motivated, so I lifted some light 20-pound weights at home 3 nights ago. And for the past 2 days, I've just been like, fuck, don't want to get out of bed. So yeah, it's really sad to not be able to exercise, to kind of lose the ability to use your body in a way that feels like it's releasing pent up energy. It basically feels like I've lost the ability to feel powerful, you know? So I feel weak. I am weak. I look weak. And so my self-image is weak. And that's hard to combat. You can say all sorts of things to comfort me, but the reality is I'm weak. So yeah, invisible disability is really hard because nobody really believes you because you look fine. At least, you know, if you had like a visible disability and you were in a wheelchair, people wouldn't be like, well, you can go run a marathon if you just trained. Not to say that I would rather be in a wheelchair, I wouldn't. I'm still more privileged than people who have to use a wheelchair as a mobility aid, but I certainly can't really hang out at the same pace as my friend group anymore. So it's lonely. It doesn't just feel lonely, it is lonely. Yeah, it's a mirror image, Robert. I don't know why, but YouTube started live streaming a mirrored image, which is why it looks different. Everything looks flipped, which you can see on the poster. See, I can't even direct my fingers anymore because I don't know which way it's supposed to go. It's a mirror image. But yeah, if you read anything. One of you wanted to look at my fridge. We can look at my fridge for a bit. On this side, that usually faces the camera, we have the last tattoo that I got on my side. This is, I don't remember where this is from, actually. This is a page from Jacobin magazine that I think Aaron was subscribed to. This is my ex-coworker, Zach. He had some stickers, socialist, unionizing, eat the rich themed stickers. These are various recipes that I still have up from cooking for grandma. These are boiled peanuts. This is the fried donut youtiao dough. This is the crepe base recipe that I made for her when she kind of stopped being able to chew stuff. Dumpling dough. This is, I think, a bread recipe for myself, maybe. This is a fortune cookie slip that says dwelling on the negative simply contributes to its power. I do think that's true. Cheers. This is a cross that I got from a monastery, a Franciscan monastery. It has these 3 knots on there signifying 3 virtues of life. I forget what the third one is. I always forget what the third one is. I think one of them is just like chastity. One of them is like asceticism, like poverty basically. And I can't remember the third, but I used to wear this all the time. In middle school, I was called Bible Girl. I used to be pretty Christian, religious. This is a cross that my dad got from Jerusalem when he went. Probably made in China, hilariously, but who knows. We have a burning cop car sticker that I got in 2020, pack of 20 stickers. There's some candy wrapper from chocolates that my Latvian friend got me from Latvia. Some artwork that I don't even remember where I got it from. I don't know why I have that. This was a sticker from a bar that I went to on a first date. All I want for the holidays is a flexible workplace from the Hearst Union. Stickers that I've had for probably over a decade now from China. These are all the meds that Grandma was on towards her end of life. I just tacked it on because I needed to have it somewhere. This is a Unionize Your Cat Deserves a Raise sticker that I got from my ex-coworker, Ellie Black. Ellie also made this poster. I love their artwork. They make artwork for the New Yorker cartoons. And then this is a treasure trove of lots of things. A mover, the Greek bakery that I did in my last Delish video in Astoria. No chefs, no masters. That has my birth date on it. It's my ER wristband. We got our Bernie sticker. Got another Bernie sticker. We got a pinup. I don't remember where I got it from, but I really liked her. And then I have other tattoos that are on my stomach, pasted on my fridge. This one too. These are all tattoo printouts. Here's my grandma with me and my grandpa. It's a card from my ex-coworker Lauren and her cutie dog Deb. Deb is a derp. This one is fun. This is an Instagram. She's on Instagram. Her name is Karen Cast. CARYNCAST. Karen Cast. CARYNCAST. She like does artwork all over the city with pigeons and stuff. And this is a magnet that she was selling at a fair. And then a lot of these photos are people I don't know. I just got them from like a surf shop in Brooklyn because they were black and white and they were like 50 cents each, and I was like, that's cool. It's got more family portraits. My mom, my uncle, my grandma, my grandfather, me, my cousin. This is a card my friend Devin gave me. That's Tuna. That's the cat that I cat sat for a while. My friends Peter and Patrick. And yeah, that's that. A lot of things on there. That is probably the most decorated spot in all of my apartment, is the fridge. And because it requires no nailing, drilling, or hanging. It's just all there by magnets. Where's my food? If you have any recommendations for activities that I can do, as someone who is basically mostly housebound and has energy for a 20-minute walk at max, let me know. You would recommend approaching long COVID like people who manage fibromyalgia? Okay, I'll go Reddit some threads on fibromyalgia. Thank you. Yeah, I haven't read Alice Wong's Disability Visibility, but I will look it up. Thank you. Crochet. No, that would require yarn and learning, and that means I will be frustrated at myself and my own ability to be excellent at something immediately when I pick it up. That is my toxic trait, is that I will become very frustrated very quickly if I can't do something right immediately. Yep. I'm still working for Burlap and Barrel, which is why I still have a lot of spices. but my hours are reduced, which I reduced when Grandma got sick last summer. And I probably won't pick up until this summer, if I even pick it up again, because I just don't know how long it's gonna take to recover from all of this, honestly. With every month going by that doesn't feel better than the last, I lose a little more hopeful expectation that recovery is on the horizon, and it's not as dark and despairing as you might hear it, because I've kind of grappled with this for over a year now. It's just more of like acknowledging the fact that recovery might not happen soon, might not even happen ever, at least not to the point that I would like it to. And so it's kind of just negotiating with myself on how to be gentle without completely surrendering to despair. That's it. It's kind of like being forced to retire when you weren't ready. It's kind of like life firing you. It's like being laid off by life. Yeah, TV on in the background is big, actually. That's kind of the thing, is like I'm not in the bedroom anymore where my computer is, so I can't just kind of leave it on because I can't hear it from the living room where I'm mostly spending the day now with Memo. So maybe I'll like put it on my laptop or something. Well, guys, drink your water. Here's to another month. Let's try some of this natto before I go. I just want to see. Definitely looks like it shouldn't be like this. Definitely looks like it should be something else. But we're gonna try it. It does have the stringy. It is mucusy. So something did happen. It just doesn't look like it's enough mucusy. But you know. Yum, natto. This is, by the way, what natto should do. This mucus is natural for natto. It actually should be a little bit stronger. The mucusiness should be a little bit resilient, more resilient than this. All right. So I'm gonna try a little bit plain, and then we're gonna add soy sauce and a little bit of mustard powder to it. Normally it would taste best with mustard, a condiment, but I don't have any. It kind of smells like kind of smells more pleasant than the store-bought stuff. Almost floral. She died by homemade natto. That would be funny, huh? This is natto. It's fermented soybeans, not caviar. This is a black soybean, by the way. That's why it looks so dark. You see, without the skin, it's much lighter, but the skin itself is a black skin on the black soybeans. Yeah, hell yeah. Natto can work on anything you want it to. I just wouldn't recommend cooking it too much because it is a fermented product, and so what's kind of healthy about it is like the bacteria that exists. It's the same thing with anything, you know, like kimchi. The heat kills the bacteria, like yogurt. So you definitely can eat it however you want it, but just the health benefits will be a little more diminished if you cook it. This is what gets people though, the mucousy stringy bits, I think, is like what disturbs most people. It's pretty tasty. And I would say my homemade batch is probably not that successful because it doesn't smell that strong and the mucus doesn't look that strong, so something's definitely a little off. But we'll try again. Basically, my friend Daisuke recommended that I get this from Amazon. It's like a bacteria starter packet. So this is natto starter powder. It just has Bacillus subtilis natto. So once you have this, you just add a little bit of this powder into your cooked soybeans, and then you let it stay in a place that's about 105 degrees Fahrenheit for 24 hours. And you let it kind of get all bacteria-y. And then you have natto. You can buy natto in the freezer aisle. They'll come in little palm-sized styrofoam containers, usually in a stack of 3 with a plastic wrapper around it. I wouldn't recommend tasting it plain. You should always use the condiment packets that it comes with, or just use your own soy sauce and some sort of mustardy flavor. A little bit of spicy would help, because usually natto doesn't have a strong taste and the texture can be very off-putting. It does taste best on rice, in my experience, with soy sauce and mustard, which I think is a pretty traditional way of eating it. But yeah, I don't know if all Chinese stores will carry it, but definitely H Mart. I've seen it at H Mart in the freezer aisle. A Japanese store will probably have it, but if it's just your run-of-the-mill Chinese Asian supermarket, it might not carry natto. It depends on the clientele, honestly. If it's a fancier store, it probably will be more likely to have Japanese imported goods, like natto. It's not really a popular food in the States yet, so it might take a while to get to a popular food status in the States. I did use the Instant Pot. Yep. I put it on the yogurt setting for 24 hours. that's it, folks. Thanks for hanging with me. And watching me eat cookies and yogurt and natto. Sending you all peace. That's it. I don't really wish for happiness, I just wish for peace. So I hope you guys all get a lot of rest and feed yourself what your body wants to eat. Grandma's last 3 pieces of advice for me that I collected over the last few weeks of her life was, don't fuel arguments in the moment of anger with your loved ones. Just walk away and nod, and when you're both more level-minded, come back and talk about the issue instead of attacking each other and being, I'm more right than you are. That's number 1. Number 2 is get enough sleep. I haven't been doing that great, but I'm trying to be better. And number 3 is don't eat anything you don't want to eat, because your body will not digest it well. So just keep eating what you want to eat. Obviously don't go too crazy on the processed foods, because those are made to make you addicted. So you can indulge in them, but just know that if you give in to them, that's not your body asking for it, that's an addiction. And I think what I'm learning is that it's okay to not want anything. I think I want fewer and fewer things now as I age. And there's almost like a sense of I must be mentally ill to not want things, because I think we associate apathy and lack of desire with depression. But I also think that we are overdiagnosing depression and anxiety as an individually afflicted mental illness, and I think it's, again, an environmental reflection of the world that we live in. So I think it's okay to not want that many things, and I think it's okay to not want to do that many things, considering that we have seen what these things cost. Not just us, but the people in the world around us, what they cost. And so, taking everything into account, maybe it makes more sense for you to not want these things if you are aware of their cost and you know that it's not worth the cost to engage in indulging. But yeah, do what you like, but just figure out what it is that you actually like, because the grass is always greener on the other side, but you might not actually like grass. So just because everybody else likes grass, does that mean you do too? IDK. Bye.